Hello everyone. Many people say that Sekiro is the hardest game, not only among Souls games, but also among all games, and in this video, I'll try to prove why this is not true at all. Okay, before you say anything, let me ask you one very simple question. What makes a hard game hard? Think for a while and type under comment what do you think makes a hard game hard. For me, there are combinations of many small moments, and since this game is a Souls-born game, I will name a few things that make Souls games a hard games for me at least. First and obviously boss fights, secondly basic mobs, third locations, fourth main character, and fifth runbacks, and I would say RPG element system. Okay, let's start with least interesting one and then move to most interesting. Main character. In other games, main characters are slow, immobile, and helpless monkeys with asthma, who are out of stamina after 2 roll. The only playable main character who isn't a pathetic helpless abomination is Ashen one. Others either are very mobile disabled monkeys or they die from 2 hits from any homeless. Sekiro has infinity stamina, which allows you to run and hit as many times as you want. He is a very fast and mobile character, and he has ultimate block, which allows him to block almost all hits without taking any damage. Yes, there are people who say that through Sekiro playthrough is when you play without Kulosh amulet and will demon's bell. But if you are watching my videos for a while, you know my feelings toward people who say dumb stuff like that. Sekiro as a playable character, despite the fact that he dies in 2 hits from every homeless, is a very strong character if you look at simply what he can do and what he is capable of, which makes this game a lot easier than other Souls games. Boss runbacks. In this game, unlike most Souls games, bosses have a bonfire next to them, which means that there are no brutal and annoying runbacks to bosses, unlike a few other games, which makes this game easier than other Souls games. Locations. For example, in Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls, locations are a huge pain in the ass. You can just speedrun locations because A. Basic mobs are no joke, B. Your main character is a disabled dude with asthma, and C. These locations have anti-speedrun mechanics. For example, Anor Londo and Sense Fortress. In Anor Londo, there are silver knights with huge bows, and if you will just run forward, you will probably die. In Sense Fortress, there are traps everywhere, and if you aren't careful, and if you just run butt naked, you will be teleported to a bonfire. Now let's talk about Sekiro. In this game, you can use ninja rope and just speedrun locations, and there is nothing, like nothing that can stop you. You just swing on a tree like a monkey over and over and you're good to go. The only location, yes, the only location in which you might have a bit problem is this stupid location with an army of snipers that shoot you over and over. But other locations are just a tree swing simulation, which makes this game's locations much easier than in other Souls games. Now basic mobs. In other games, some basic mobs are harder than most bosses. The best examples are giant fishes, Hade knights, hippos, crow knight, son of a bitch, big cats, and many more. Yeah, in Sekiro there are also 1 or 2 annoying basic mobs, but overall they aren't a huge deal, to be honest with you. If in other Souls games it was a bit problematic to run away from these basic mobs, in Sekiro your character is simply faster on nearly every single basic mob, and also you have a rope that allows you to just quickly swing on a tree like a monkey and quickly skip them all without fighting any basic mob, which once again makes this game's basic mobs easier to deal than in other Souls games. You might say that if you skip all these basic mobs you won't get money and XP, which is kinda fair, but now let's talk about RPG element in this game. Like I said in this video, RPG system in Sekiro is just added to be added. For example, in Dark Souls 3, unless you are a sweaty pro gamer, if you will just run through basic mobs and won't farm, you will simply be under level, and a few locations or bosses will make you suffer. But in Sekiro there is a very funny situation. On my last playthrough, I on purpose skipped all mobs and locations if it was possible, and guess what? I was completely fine. In this game, you can spend money or XP to level up, for example, vigor or damage. In this game, you get your damage increasing while killing bosses with remembrances, and you get more max health after killing for super easy mini bosses. You spend gold on arm tools and you spend XP for combat art. And I am saying this without jokes. All you need in order to beat Sekiro is to find at least 20 prayers, buy firecrackers from random merchant, in skills get Mikiri counter, and the thing that increases your maximum amount of prayers, and that's it. In this game there is absolutely no reason for you to kill basic mobs because nearly all arm tools are absolutely useless. Yes, for example, Demon of Hate without Firefighter Shield is a huge pain in the ass, but the thing is that this is the only boss against whom this hand or finger at max level is a must-have tool. Head most of the time is just unneeded because, you can just press parry button. In this game, arm tools besides firecrackers are either situational or just useless. The situational combat art is no better. I tested nearly every single arm tool, and I can guarantee you that there is no better combat art than Mortal Draw, which you get after you kill hide and seek monkeys. It just melts enemy posture and health bar, especially if you have a red candy. The only boss who is resistible to Mortal Blade is All Father and Demon. Others are getting destroyed with this combat art. Every single combat art besides Mortal Draw, Dragon Slash and Sakura Dance are either very debatable or absolutely useless. I have a separate full video about that. If you want you can check it. Link will be in the description. I am telling you this without any joke. The faster you realize that in this game killing basic mobs is just useless, the faster you will finish this game. And because of that, this game is once again easier than other Souls games, because you just don't need to fight basic mobs. You can skip all basic mobs and locations on a ninja rope and you will lose absolutely nothing. Some of you might say that there are YouTubers who did arm tool or combat art only challenges, and first of all, fuck every single one of you. And secondly, try to use spear against Genichiro, Demon of Hate, Ishin, All, or use shurikens against Guardian Ape, Oniwa, or against Corrupted Monk. Tell me how useful are they? Spoiler, they aren't useful. Yes, I know that there are people who combine many arm tools together with combat arts, but here is the thing. Let's take for example Ungbal. Unless he plays with mods, he never uses some cool looking wombo combos against bosses. He uses a regular hit parry strategy, and against bosses with fire damage, he uses Firefighter Head or one specific arm tool like Spear against Monkey, and that's it. The only time he uses some cool wombo combos is against the mini bosses, and you know why? Because he is not dumb. He knows that if he uses some cool looking moves against the real bosses and not against a few punch bag mini bosses, in mid combo he will receive a punch. Fuck it, even I stunlocked this spear dude on my last playthrough, but when I tried to use the same thing against Genichiro, you know what happened? I got hit in mid-air and I died. If you use as an argument that combat arts and arm tools combinations aren't useless because Ungbal can combine them against mini bosses, know the fact that this is the same as if I started to prove to you why Ledo's hammer is OP just because it allows you to easy poise break Pontiff's beasts. Once again, yeah, some arm tools can make your life a bit easy, but you won't lose anything if you just ignore these arm tools besides firecrackers. Once again, firecrackers, Mikiri counter, more emblems, Mortal Draw after hide and seek monkeys, and that's it. You don't need anything else in this game. And finally, let's talk about the bosses. The situational bosses is very spicy. Yes, this game without a doubt has a hard bosses, but here is the thing. These bosses are just not fair towards you. I will give you the best example. Ishin has two Mikiri moves. In order to avoid one Mikiri move, you have to jump on him. And in order to avoid the other Mikiri, you have to use a dash. And please tell me how I am supposed to know that, even in theory, what I am supposed to do in order to avoid this move without receiving a punch at least 2 times. The only way to avoid this move is to use the right Mikiri counter. You can't dodge them because they are fast and your dodges are very small, and it won't save you 99% of time. And please, don't say that for example Purser has a grab attack that you can't block with your shield. You can either walk next to him while he is charging or dodge it with roll. Same thing can be said about other non-decoration bosses. bosses. Unless you study perfectly what boss does perfectly, or unless you cheese them with Mortal Draw and Firecrackers, you have no chance against bosses, like zero chances. And no, it's not just like in other Souls games. For example, many people consider Ludwig as one of the hardest Souls bosses, but I ran him down on my first attempt without any problem. If someone told me that they killed the bosses like Nameless King, Midir or Fume Knight on their first attempt, I can easily believe that, because in these games, in order to beat bosses, you need a good reaction timing, and that's it. There is nothing more about it, just good reaction, and that's it. In theory, you can beat any Dark Souls or Bloodborne boss on your first attempt, but in Sekiro, unless you know what boss does perfectly, you have almost no chance against bosses. Yeah, I know that many people say that this game forces you to master this game, but I don't think that I know enough offensive words to describe these people. Despite the fact that I think that bosses in this game are just unfair towards you, it's impossible to deny that boss fights in this game are indeed a hard moment. Many people also said combat is very hard and super duper complicated and deep, but it's a pure bullshit, trust me. The faster you realize that you should just hit parry bosses, the easier your life will be. No jokes, just spam parry button and R1 sword twice and use a Mikiri counter, and that's it. That's this game's entire combat. So what we have in land, the only hard thing about this game are bosses, and that's it. And also, to be honest with you, there are only 5 or 6 very hard bosses. No, if you have anything to say besides hard bosses that are hard in Sekiro, feel free to type. But remember one very important thing, a hard bosses doesn't mean a hard game. For example, Dark Souls 1 is a hard game with easy bosses. In these games, locations, basic mobs, main character, RPG element, runbacks, and 2 or 3 bosses are a huge pain in the ass, which makes this game a hard game, while Sekiro is a easy game with hard bosses. With this, I'll say bye bye to you, and I'll see you next time.